and welcome to another episode of La Artisteada. Today we are here with the Brazilian dancer Nanda Teixeira, who has danced with some of the biggest Latin artists, including Lali, J Balvin, Luis Fonsi, and to me at least, the most exciting with Anitta. And she has also toured with two circus, including Ringling Bros and Barnum Circus and the Bailey Circus, touring here in the United States. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you so much. And I forgot to mention that she is also my funky dance teacher, which is how we met, so I'm so excited to have you.
And I love it too because she's my great student and it makes Titia so proud.
Thank you. I'm honestly very excited because although you are my teacher, we haven't really talked much about your life. I just know this huge highlights. So let's start with the first question, which is, how did you start as a professional? How did you start your career as a professional dancer?
Back in Brazil, I studied in the dance studio as all of us, and then I got formation in there, and then you go for dance competitions. That's where I get my experience on the stage. And then my first very big contract was to travel here to the United States for Ringling Brothers Circus. And that's why it gave me the opportunity to be, oh my gosh, I'm in a contract. And Mom, I'm going. No, think about it. And she was like, and I'm like, I already signed a contract. I'm going.
I'm telling you.
And actually, that's kind of how it started. Because once I got here, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in a contract. And then when I got back to Brazil, she's international. She works in the United States and everything. And I started to do the TV and then movies. And that's how it started happening, musical. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. And I'm wondering, way before that, let's move a little bit earlier. Did you start as a child, did you start as a child dancing, or is that something that you started a little bit later?
I started with 3 years old.
Oh, wow.
It was a mix of my mom wishes and then a little bit of knitting. I used to walk with a foot that you kind of trip a little bit. And then before, don't tell much what my generation is right now. Before, so the doctor said to don't use the little boot. He was like, put her in some sports. And she always loved dancing and she never had the chance to dance, so she put me. Oh, wow. But she didn't know that was going to be my profession. I don't want to study, I don't want to do nothing, I want to dance. She didn't know that yet. But it worked because I don't remember to walk like that. And then it went away. And that's how I started. I started with 3 years old doing ballet, jazz, tap, and modern and all that. And then later on, I started with hip hop, urban dance, getting all the basics on top rock, popping, locking, all the important basics that we need to go through. And because of Ringling, I started to see the commercial, the industry side, the shows. And I was like, oh my gosh. I think this is where, because I was growing up doing ballet. I used points. I went to dance competitions and everything. And I thought, I'm going to do in the dance company. I'm going to be in the dance company. I didn't have the body, the DNA for a ballerina. And let's say, the long legs, skinny. Brazilian bunda exists here, So, and in class they would be like, "Put your bunda in." I'm like, "I am," but it's not going, because that was not for me. But I thought that was the only way. And then after, when I came to Ringling, I was like, "Oh my gosh, a show, lights and costume, little." And then I was like, "Okay, this is for me." So. Yeah, that's, did I lose it? Or
no, you're good.
I think we're good, right?
Yeah, there's different questions that I'm wondering, because I feel like having that opportunity, you had to have a lot of history to be able to start that. So I'm wondering, before that, I feel like in Brazil, or at least the people perspective from outside in, we think Brazilian, it's very cultural, music, dance, and all these things. I'm wondering, did you think of your career oh, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a professional dancer, and this is how I'm going to make money throughout your entire life, and like how people around you viewed that?
Yes, I mean, I think at some point I was already a teenage. I was like, I want to dance. And that was the hard part for my mom because I didn't want to finish school, which now I say finish, do it. I didn't, everybody to be like, oh, I'm going to start college. And I just had inside of me that it's like, I have time to do college when I'm 50. I just had inside that I want to travel dancing. And I didn't know how. I just had this, I want to dance, dance, dance. In my room, I would have like dance, dance, dance all around. I would write down. And I didn't know. And then the first international job came and the first contract came. I did the audition and then I was dancing the whole, around the United States and doing it. So, but I don't know. Yeah, that's what I had in me. I think I had inside this desire, this dream. And before we didn't have much the internet, so I couldn't compare or anything. I would just be, in my room and looking the ceiling and laying down and being like, I want to travel dancing. And
oh my gosh, that's so interesting. And this is a little bit off topic, but when I was in college, one professor once told us about, it was like the class was super radical, and the professor like gave us one assignment once to like sit down, lay down, and just like dream of the world that we wanted to live in, right? And he was like, because it's in during this time that you can like get inspired and like have hope and like try to think about what you want to like work towards. And that's so interesting because like you're saying that you did that and like now you achieved, Yeah,
and I actually didn't know. I mean, I'm a Pisces girl, so I'm very emotional and I dream a lot. Sometimes we're very cray-cray because we drink too much. But I guess, it works, and I always have so much faith. And for me, dance was very a therapy because, the environment, I grew up like my mom and dad fighting, so having problems or not having enough money to do things that I needed. Then when I was dancing, I would forget all of this. And that for me, I'm like, I just want to do this. I just want to keep doing this. And now what? Now I got my formation. I'm a great teacher. I already have experience on stage. So now what? I want to travel. I want to travel dance. And I didn't even care much, which I'm working on that now, about like, I don't want to be rich. I don't want to make much money. I just want to dance. And I danced, and I kept dancing. And I can say that back in Brazil, I never need to do a regular job or something. I would finish a musical, then I would start a TV show, then I would do a cinema, choreographing or dancing or acting. So, yeah, and then I did the soap opera, was my first contract as an actress too, that dance brought to me. So I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, thanks so much. But it was me in the little room, like, just dreaming. Yeah. And it's like, if my mom and dad was fighting, it's normal, relationships, but it's like, I'm gonna do, and then friends would be, I'm gonna start this college. I'm like, I don't know, I just want to dance. I just want to forget, like, live my little bubble, and that's funny you say that.
Yeah,
because I think,
it's crazy, it's so connected.
Yeah, and that's why these days I try to, sometimes we really get stuck on the internet and start comparing ourselves, and it's like, oh, let's put it away, let me go back to me and my faith and, my conversations and what now? What's next?
What's next? Yeah.
Now I want to do a lot of money because
that's next. And I'm wondering what was your first paid job in Brazil? I'm trying to like really think like, how did you get to that opportunity?
Okay, when I got back from here for the first time.
Oh wow. Okay, so your first paid job like overall was the circus.
Yeah, because before that I was in this dance school that I grew up, and I started doing dance competitions, and I didn't make money. The only money I'd make, it was teaching. And we do like little parties to get money, like on the street to get like cans. I would walk a lot with my mom because I grew up without cars. I grew up getting buses, and then instead of taking 2 buses, we walk a little bit just to get 1 bus. And then during this walk, we would have a little bag and put some cans to returning like money, and would give it to the dance school. So we used to do that. So I never made money. Like I danced and then I made money. If I danced in some like dance competitions, because the process is you starting being the dance competitions, competing, and then after that, I started to be invited to open those dance competitions. But there's no money. If there was money, I'm never gonna know. But for me, it was more, everything was more like experience. And the only money I made was dancing. So when I did this audition for the circus.
Did you do that in Brazil?
Yes. They used to go to Brazil every time. Every year, and most of the dancers was always Brazilians, maybe because we're cheaper. But I mean, but for us, it was like, for me, it was a change life thing, because I didn't know I could make money dance. I just want to dance, and for me that was fine. And then when I got here, and then I signed a contract and everything, and they sent me my ticket. My plane ticket, I've, and then...
Was that the first time you left Brazil?
It was the first time I left. Okay. I left Brazil for that. Because I danced to a different dance company before. It was a hip-hop, a little mix with jazz and contemporary hip-hop that was very known to in Curitiba, in Brazil. And I stayed there for 6 months. It was where I got the real basics from the urban dance. And then that was the same thing. It was a dance company situation. I was supposed to get money, but then the studio closed. It was a little, part of being artist. Be like, let's do it, let's keep going. And then I suppose I used to teach ballet, because on this company, everybody has your specialty. Would give a dance class between us, and then we rehearse all night, and we have already the schedule to dance around. And I was teaching them ballet, and the other person was teaching, not that was my specialty, but I between them, because one was teaching locking, the other one footwork, the other one, and then I was the one that was with the technique that I could help with them. And I thought the ballet, but then I decided to leave because, things was not happening the way it's supposed to. And then I got back to my dance, to the place that I got formation, and I got back studying, and I just had like, okay, now what? I need to dance. So that was my first job. And I stay here, contracted and receiving money like weekly. What? You guys get paid weekly? This is paradise, because in Brazil it's always like just a month. But before that, I used to work in before I opened this gate, I was working in a clothing store. That was, thank God, that was the only time that I needed to get like a regular job in Brazil. And then I was working in a clothing store, and then I had this opportunity to be part of this other show, TV show. But again, okay, now you make me remember. Okay, actually, that was my first very, very job that actually put me back on dancing. And then this is a project they call Criança Esperança. They do every year, and they used to hire lots of dancers. So I did the audition, and I booked that. That was the first one.
And what was that one?
It doesn't feel paid for me, because the money that came, the rehearsals was not in my city. It was in a different city, like in Campinas. So I used all the money to use my tickets to go to rehearse. And I remember I was in the dance store, on the clothing store, and I was like, hey, can you fire me? Because with the money I use for the tickets, to go there to rehearse, and then when I get paid, I would kind of reimburse back. And they were so nice. And again, for me, it's like, I desire, I dream, and then the way always come, and the way opens, like how, if it meant to be, it will like just flow good. So I did that. So that was my very first job in Brazil. And then I booked the Ringling Brothers Circus, and I came here, but that was the longest job, like in a contract and receiving weekly. And then when I got back home,
wait, I want to pause a little bit. So on the previous job, you were, what was that? What was the name of the company?
Criança Esperança. It's on TV, the Globo. channel, global channel. They still have this event every year. It's like in the end of the year.
Oh, okay, okay.
You know, they go,
okay, so for context, for people who don't know, Globo, I guess if you're Mexican, it's like Televisa in Mexico.
Yes,
and here it's
perfect.
like, I wouldn't really know, like CBS, ABC, like some of those like big national like free channels, right?
Yes.
And it's kind of like the biggest one, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
in Brazil.
It's the biggest one. Oh my gosh. And now I remember just another job too. Oh, wow. Okay, we're going back here. We're going to put in order. So right before I booked this Ringling, I was working with a soap opera. The dancing on the TV it was like Páginas da Vida. It was one of soap opera, and then they have this part of the nucleo of the soap opera that was about dancing, space artists, and I used to dance. And I was like recording. That's how I started to have the feeling of TV and dancing, and the director was so nice because after that I came to here. And then I worked, and then I got back. He gave me the first opportunity to act too. And I just did a movie with the same director that saw me back years ago. Yeah, so, oh my gosh, yeah. And I remember they was still shooting the soap opera, and I was like, hey, I'm going to United States. Bye, I booked this time. Goodbye.
You're like, thank you, but goodbye.
Because it was not like a contract. It was like per numbers when they need it. You know, it was a different...
And did that come through an audition that you did?
That came through a friend that we grew up together. And then she was dancing too, and she was already like, she asked me like, hey, I received this up because she was teaching on Deborah Coker studio, dance studio in Brazil, which is a big thing too. And I worked with her in a Olympic ceremony opening, which was a big honor too, to be part of that. And then she was like, come help me. We're gonna dance and then choreograph, because one day they needed like a jazz number, and the other day they need like a tap number, and the other one they need like a ballerinas with Ana Botafogo on the scene, and they're like, okay, let's go. So that's basically how it was. Yeah.
Okay.
And then at the same time, I'm like, okay, now I gotta go. Okay, I'm going to the United States.
Thank you for this opportunity, but goodbye. Yeah. Oh, and okay, so then you did this casting with the circus. It came. I'm wondering. I don't know, to be honest. I've never met someone who works at a circus, so I don't know like what is the perception that like people have for people who work at the circus, right? So I'm wondering, like, did your mom? You mentioned that you told your mom, and you were like, no, I already signed the contract. But like, what was the reaction? Was she excited? Were the people in your family excited when you told them, I'm going to go be a dancer at a circus?
My dad, he was still alive. He was the first one. Go, my daughter, go. You have to go. And my mom, she was crying like I killed someone. Now she's okay, but she used to be like, I'd rather you here without job than you out there. But now she's like, okay, you're happy, I'm happy. It's the pros. And my family, everybody, you know, loves that. And it's funny for me to be in a circus because my mom was always afraid of a circus. Because we have this big history really, really near to our neighborhood that this big circus got in a fire, you know, and then she was always afraid to take me. So the only closest I have get to an elephant was in a zoo once when I was kid. And then I'm like, when I got in Ringling, it's like, watch out, and I didn't even know what was watch out. And then I just would not follow everybody, and then when I looked, it was like an elephant passing, the line of the elephants passing by. I'm like, holy, I'm in a real circus. This is real. This is happening. So, and it was fun. And then, you know, after you get there, and now all the books, I'm in the picture, and I send it to Brazil, sign it. And then she started to be like, oh my gosh, it's okay. My daughter was not kidnapped, you know, like this really exists and everything else. So
wow, and I'm wondering, I was listening last week to this conversation with some singers, and they were talking about touring and how exhausting and unnatural like the experience of touring as a singer is, of like being in a bus with the same people all the time, and like literally like 24/7 having to share bedroom, bathroom, everything, and like just performance is like 10% of what touring actually is. And so I'm like, How was it to tour in a circus with, again, like same people? Now you talking animals, like with animals. Like,
yeah, it's elephants, tigers, you know, and it's like it's not like you're in your house and you go work and you come back, you can get a little break for them. It's like a 24-hour thing. Because we didn't do hotels. I lived in a train. I travel all United States in a train. And the first year that I came, it was like one wagon with 14 rooms. The room was the size like, this is my bed. I have the sink here, the microwave, the fridge. The good part was when I was sleeping, and then if I was thirsty, I didn't need to get up. I was just like, oh, okay, good. And you go back to sleep, you know. And then some days, like during the train run, was like changing cities, and if they give a little, which the feeling was the best, like a little kid, like nah, 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 nah. And then sometimes if they hit, sometimes, and I would see like my TV falling on me, and I would, But I could say that these first 2 weeks on the circus was a little, you know, like because it was 14 rooms. Just women that you just met, and then some people like to put their loud, like if you, I don't know if I can say that, but if you fart in your room, I could hear because it was like just plastics, you know, like separating our rooms, and they would be like putting the volume up in the song, and they would leave the wagon, be outside. I'm like, why can't you just bring the song with you outside, you know? And I just want to lay down and see a TV, and I couldn't. So it's different, like, and it was intense because it was 24 hours. And then in the dress room, we would be with the same girls sharing the same dress room, you know? And, but the great part was traveling and being in the circus. I didn't need to do my suitcase and go over to getting in the airplane or not, like putting my suitcase, like, and then they take your suitcase and open what it is. There was nothing. We travel with our houses, so that was a good part. I would just lay down, and people that work in the train, they would just close the wagons, and it's like, okay, we arrive, we're in the next city. So that's how it was. So that part was cool, because I can say, what, did you live in I'm like, yeah, I lived in a train. What? Like, yeah, I live in, so this part was very cool, because I have on Ringling, in different circles it's different. They really get on the road, and you have to be in the car, hold your pee, you know, like that's intense. But for me, in the circles was cool. I miss traveling and being on tour like that. And then after the 2 years for the new tour, I got a little promoted. So I did this thing with just me and 2 more dancers. So I got to negotiate and get like a bigger room. So I moved to a wagon that was just 8 rooms. So my room was a little bit bigger, and I could dance in my room. You know? I had to walk if I was thirsty during the night, you know. So it was fun, you know. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is paradise. I wake up, I do a show, and I sleep, and then I wake up, I do another show, and I sleep. So for me, it was
the dream that you had.
Yes, it was just like, I am doing that. I am traveling and dancing.
Wow. And for how long did you do that?
For the first episode of my life was for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
When I blinked, it was already like 5 years.
Wow. Okay. And then when that was over?
That was over, like pressured, because I actually got an injury. I tear the cartilage of my hip. I took a year to accept the facts that all the doctors was like, you need surgery. I'm like, I'm not gonna do surgery. I don't need it. I'm not gonna do it, you know. And then I was already in pain, and I just did like 3 more months of the show, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to do it. So I did the surgery here, and then I got back to Brazil. So I was healing to it, and that's why, for me, it was kind of nice, because it was a little transition that opened my head for acting. Because when I got back to Brazil, I was still healing from my hip, but because it was arthroscopy, so they made it walk right away. It was just I could walk. just like all the dance, the technique that was not there yet, but I could do stuff. And then I had a chance to be in a soap opera as an actress. But I did the background thing, but it was my first contract as actress. And was the paycheck thing that I financial my first car in Brazil too, you know? So yeah.
And how did you get that? So you came back, you were healing. What were the conversations that you were having for you to get that first opportunity?
It's about like people that knows me before, like, hey, this assistant director is looking for dancers because they want the dancers first for this part of the soap opera. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna send it. And then I send it and like, hey, we're gonna do these workshops. And you first was like 48 dancers, girls, whatever they were, model. We had everything. And then we was having workshops with like very, very important coaches, acting coaches. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. I can dance now, but this could be something I could do for now because I'm still healing. I can dance, so let's go. And then another workshop. And then one workshop, we had the real directors of the novelas, of the soap opera. And I'm like, okay, this is getting serious. And then that's when it opened my mind to like, oh my gosh, acting is amazing too. Because I did back studying, when I studied dance, we do have theater classes, but I was like, no, I want to dance. I'm going to dance. I just want to dance. I don't want to dance. And then they said, oh, we're going to choose 15 girls to start for the first day of shooting. And then we're going to rotate. And we was already almost 1 month now rotating the same girls.
And were you part of this group?
Yes.
Okay.
And then that's when the first scene, it was so funny because I remember until these days I have all my aunts watching the soap opera because I was background. So I didn't, and it was not in the contract yet. So I didn't know, you never know, like that's how TV, right?
Yeah.
You never know what's gonna cut, like the same thing in the music video. You do the scene, but you never know if it's really gonna be there for fact. So, but I was just happy to be there. I was still healing, it was a little different thing for me. I'm like, okay. And then we was watching, and then the first scene, they opened the door because the soap opera was very important soap opera actually, because they was talking about human traffic. And we was one of the girls that was already trafficked, like there. And then the guy opens the door and the big screen comes to my face. I'm like, and we're like, oh my gosh, it's Nanda. And I'm like, oh wow, this is cool, And then after that, we kept working, and then they would pay us for the daily when they needed us. And then someday I got home, because I was, teaching, dancing, rehearsing all day. And then when I wasn't shooting, and then my mom was like, this guy just called asking for you. I'm like, this guy who? And then when I saw the name, it was one of the casting director from Global. And I'm like, holy what?
It's not just one guy, Mom.
he won what? He just asked for you. And then we had a group. I'm like, what's going on? Did Luis call you? I'm like, what's going on? And then one friend was like, they want to hire us. They want to put on his new contract. I'm like, what? And then he finally called again, or I call him back, I don't remember. And like, hey, how are you doing? How are you liking it? And everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. I love it. I'm in love with it. And like, hey, just to tell you, like, you're doing a great job. And then we're thinking hire you, putting you girls in a contract. What do you think about it? I'm like, I think it's great. And then I'm like, but that's the thing I remember. Now I'm picturing myself on The Office. Then we went to the Global Channel office, and it's like, I'm coming here to sign a contract. But I didn't know if I want to sign a contract because I already had Ringling ask me if I want to come back. So I had Ringling, and I remember I think I have a video of a friend did a video of me. I was in the office like that, and I had the contract, the TV contract here, and I was like that, like, do I want to do this? But this is like 6-month contract and it's going to be over. Do I want to go back to Ringling and then I can stay like 3 years again, like put myself back or something? I'm like, I don't know. So, but at the same time, I signed it and I couldn't pack I didn't want to travel actually. So I think I had the answer already. And then I signed with them, and it was amazing because I would get to Channel Globe like and walk in. It was amazing. And then I started studying acting too, more getting myself in some workshops, and I completely healed. And then during this novella, I heard about the audition for In the Heights, In the Heights, Brazil. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And In the Heights, it's like one of the musical that I love the most.
Okay.
But I never went we was in New York, because the nice about Ringling, I did the biggest arenas around here. I've been there doing a show. Like we were on Madison Square. And then, but I couldn't watch the Broadway shows because it was doing shows.
Yeah.
And then when it was off, they was off too. And I just saw the musical through the YouTube. I don't know if I can say that, but I think so, right? And then I just knew for videos, and it was a different musical type, because it was not like all glamour. It was like about a good story, like Latinos and all that. I'm like, oh, this music is beautiful. And then when I heard it's like the same music of a Brazilian version, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to try. And then I put myself in acting in singing classes, because and my mom grew up saying like, oh my daughter, I just miss putting you in singing class. We couldn't pay completely the dance. It's okay, mom. And then I put in myself at least to be in the audition. And then the audition took 3 months. It was in São Paulo. So the auditions took 3 months. Wow. And then I booked.
Wow.
And the choreographer was Luis Salgado. He's a big name on musical, on Broadway. And he was the choreographer from the original. And he was there casting. And I booked.
Wow. Congrats. Okay, I have to mention that. To me, it's very interesting that you... like the way that you were thinking about things, like you didn't think like, oh my gosh, I just dance. It was, okay, wait, what do I need? I need to learn how to sing to be able to audition. And like you went and did it. Yeah. It's really interesting, because I feel like a lot of people, like sometimes we just stay like, oh, like what is it? Like I can't do that because I don't have X. And so you just like prevent yourself, even though you have like the main thing, which was dancing, you know?
And that's why when I get some beginners in my class, oh my gosh, I can do that. That's why I say, yes, you can. Because I went through this, and of course I'm a good teacher, okay? A lot of experience. And it's one of the things that I can help you. Yeah, you can, so.
But it's very interesting, because I feel like that's to me, it's very clear that that's what made you go and get. And because like the first like, who would think about leaving the country without ever even thinking, like without ever even being in another country, to just go and work, with the circus. And then now with this, you got back and you did that musical. And like, how was that experience too?
It was amazing. First of all, I thought I was gonna get fired in the first week. Because, I'm a dancer, so the good thing is that they evaluate me. I booked as an ensemble, so they evaluate me a dancer that can sing, not a singer that can dance. So that was good. And then when they tested me like the second time out of the audition, they give me like a cover of Nina, one of the main character. I'm like, I'm not gonna make it. And then I got emotional because for me it was never like, oh, there's audition of musical, let me see who's the choreographer, let me see who's the director. I tried to meet him and get that way. That was not the choice of my life. It was more like, I need to get myself on singing. I need to at least be in the notes. I need to at least show that I'm good, that I study for that, And then so don't lose the thoughts, okay? It's not a time to lose the thoughts. Why I thought I was gonna get fired, right? Because, I'm a dancer in a book as an ensemble, so I'm a dancer. I'm not a singer, okay? And then I thought, and I was like dying to learn the choreography, because one of the movements that parts of the like 96,000 we learned on in the Heights on the audition, when the Luis Salgado was telling all the meaning of every movement. I was like, oh my gosh, I was like having goosebumps, you know. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to learn the whole thing, you know. So I was so ready for that. And then I walk in the room and there's the piano and the chairs and your book notes. I'm like, shit. Sorry, we're gonna start with the music first. I'm like, I'm gonna be fired. So, and it was so funny because we started like that, and I have dancers and actors now that we became friends. They was like helping me with that, and then once we started on the dance, then I was helping them with the dancing, and it was a challenge because you have to sing, stay on your note, and dance. It's like a pop star thing, like Beyonce. That's why
Beyonce's Beyonce.
You're the queen, because this is not easy, you know. I'm like, I have a real. We had the microphone that comes in, like, oh my gosh, and it was sitting down, and the maestro would put us, each of us, to see if we was getting the notes and showing it, and I'm like that, and then he was like, good. And I sat down, and the girls beside me like,
yeah,
like, whoo. So it was challenging, very challenging. But the feeling, it was, again, I'm in São Paulo. Then I have to move to São Paulo because it was perfect. Because I end up finishing the soap opera. I was on Rio doing the soap opera, and the big channel was there. And so it was perfect. We finished the soap opera. And then I started the audition was during I was recording the soap opera, and then we finished for fact, and then the musical. So I moved to São Paulo for a couple months of the musical, and it was amazing. It was again the same feeling as Ringling, but better because I'm in my country. I could just, if I want to see my mom, I would just get a bus, whatever, or, you know, travel 1 hour. Airplane or bus, cheaper, and 6 hours, but I was right there, you know. But it was amazing because I would, you know, lay down and get up, like, I have a show to do today, you know, like getting the microphone and we have people to do our hair, you know. It was like, it was amazing. And oh my gosh, I mean, Broadway, one of the nicest, the biggest, the beautiful musical Brazilian version. So it was amazing.
A lot. That seems like it was like a huge opportunity. And I'm wondering now, like, when did you start dancing? Was it around the same time that you started dancing with, let's talk about Anitta, like, how did that happen?
Well, with Anitta, it was a long relationship thing because I started dancing with her because the choreographer needed more dancers, more number of dancers, because we have this bigger show.
Yeah.
And that's how it started. Oh, no, actually, my first contact with her was after the musical. Musical was done, so I got back to Rio. And then I started dancing with this singer called Lorena Simpson. And she's like big, like LGBT, like, example, and all the fans and everything. And I started dancing with her, and then they did one show. They recreate the Britney and with the snake, you know, the snake number with Britney, and who was the other singer? Oh my gosh, you're gonna need to get back on that. I don't know. So like Anitta was Britney, and then Lorena was the other singer, and we really have the real singer, and then it's very a classic ta ta ju ha ju ha. So we learned the whole thing, and then we created on this show, which was everybody was crazy about it, and was all the news talking about it, and my position was like, they was here, and I got the position to be right on the center behind them. So all the videos, if you look at, I used to have my red hair, so I was right behind them doing like this big thing that was for us, like everybody, he was an icon for us. So that was the first contact, and I remember.
And how did you get there?
Through Lorena. When we was rehearsing for that number, I remember she walked in the room for the first time, and I think she mentioned with the choreographer, that she's like, I know you through Lorena, but if you want to dance with us, she can, right? Choreographer. And then I just stay quiet. I'm like, I'm with Lorena, but of course. What are you talking about? You know, like, but because what I love about her is that she was giving so much value for dancers. And even if I wasn't, you know, and I wasn't part of that, I was already happy for that. Because, you know, all people that I know and dancers that I know, it's having this big opportunity, you know. So, yeah, that was the first contact. And then, in fact, one of our common friends, she left Brazil. She was dancing with Anitta, and then she used to do the circus too, but we didn't do the same unit. So that's why we know each other too. So she left back to here, and then actually an opportunity came up, and then the choreographer was like, we have this show, can you do it? And I'm like, of course I can. So that's how started my connection with them. And every time, and then we did this, you know, like they have the EMA VMAs here and everything. We have these big shows there in Brazil too. So every time we would do that, I would be there with them. They would ask if I want, like, every time they wanted more dancers. And then she did a Europe tour too, and then I had the opportunity to, and it was very emotional for me and very amazing because my dad has just passed away, and then like couple of months later, I had the opportunity to do the Europe show and then dance on his country that he never got to meet. He was from Portugal, so we did the first show of the tour. The Europe tour was in Portugal, so that was very nice. And then and that's and then the choreographer got booked in a TV show in Global Channel too. And then she's like, hey, I'm gonna be booked for this, can you cover me on the road shows? And that's when I got the opportunity to be more involved with the weekly shows. So I got to learn that. And then it was between, my dad was in the hospital and I was rehearsing already. And then when I started, like, he passed away in December. And then in January, I started going for the tour. So it was kind of like, okay, I'm suffering here, but this is so amazing. I got like 10 fan pages just because I'm like, guys, but I'm not a maid dancer. I'm just covering it. No, you are. You know? So yeah, that's the story.
And I'm wondering, you know, I feel like I really wanted to talk about, I remember that you and I met saw each other at a reunion and a Brazilian reunion, and we were like, play some funk, but like they didn't want to play like Brazilian funk, and I really wanted to talk to you about that because I find it so interesting. I love the history of funk, and it's very tragic, difficult, but I think it's very similar to the history of reggaeton, that it was like started kind of like it started as black music, and then it was criminalized and all these things, and like reggaeton, I feel like right now there's like a little bit more socially, like it's a little bit more socially accepted in Latin America, that it's like, oh, it's like just music, right? But I feel like from what I've seen, there's still people in Brazil who have like this preconceito.
Sí, I love it. It's so cute. I don't know if you can look in the camera. I need to express that. So cute when she speaks Portuguese.
Thank you. Like this judgment against that, and I'm wondering, like, for you, because, you know, like, you give Brazilian funk dance classes, and like, can you talk a little bit about that? How do people like view that over there, and like hear that you give those classes? Do you get any like personal judgment towards that?
Oh yeah, totally. And but what I like the best is, like, I never imagined that I would have this opportunity to be here teaching Brazilian funk, but it's the same time it's healing a little kid on me. Because, you know, I always loved Brazilian funk, but for real, like, before, the lyrics was so explicit. And actually, we still have in the vulgar too, you know, but it's them expressing themselves too, you know, and you know where you're gonna play or not. But like me as a dance teacher, I couldn't never show a Brazilian funk number because we didn't have options of songs for that, because it was all explicit. Like, I'm gonna put all my students and their parents watching the the end of the year showing off thing, and like, oh, I can do it. And then I would go to Bailey Funks and dance, and shake and toot to the floor and everything, but I could never play too loud at home because it's like, and even when I started teaching here, I have even my mom and I have friends to message him like, get off the Brazilian funk, stop with the Brazilian funk, like stop doing this. It's like, but this is me, this is part of me, like, and they ask me to teach them and they appreciating, because it's at least for me. And then that's why it's another part of little mini me getting healed. It's when Anitta came, and then Ludmilla comes, and then MC Sabrina comes, and then Pella comes, are these big names, comes with nice lyrics, like double meaning, but it's like a lyric that you can play in a 7-year-old party. You can put in a show and perform and let the parents watching them dance because, and then, so that's why, and I think that's what helps to bring a little bit the Brazilian funk so we can play more around. But I even too recently, I have like, you need to stop doing the Brazilian funk. It's like, I can't stop. I have people asking me to do this and they are appreciating this, And of course, when we play some songs, you guys don't understand. So it's like, some things. It's like, but I like to use these. I'm not saying that these other songs are bad, I'm just saying like, I can use it, but I like, and
but
I think God they doing this, so yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I'm reading this book that I am not going to name the title because apparently it's very controversial. But this book that's talking about like kind of like female empowerment through funk. And I think that like reggaeton, like because I like see them as two like parallels historically, that like a lot of women were talking about reggaeton like, oh, like it doesn't bother me, like I'm using this as like something that is empowering me, and even though the lyrics may say some stuff that some people are like, I'm like, you know what, I'm just having fun. And I feel like also with like funk, I was like reading this book about like how singers find like self-empowerment through this, and also like Anitta, I know that like it's a controversial being, and also like Ludmilla too, but how they own who they are and like just feel sexy and just like enjoy that and like exist. I feel like that's something that I like love, and
that's what I like about her, because it's like, for me, I used to say, these people that's like, oh, I cheat. No, I just have one person and I don't do this. No, she's like, yeah, I kissed this guy, I kissed the guy, I kissed the guy. Yeah, so, assume that. That's so, that's awesome, and yeah, and that's amazing that they do that. And then I get to show them
to
here.
Share.
Share, and yeah, and I love it. And that's why you guys do these songs, and I can play here and show to everybody. But yeah, they used to see, and it's funny because it's like, why you have this big preconceito with something that it's from our country? Because they used to dance some hip hops, like, I don't know if I can say or not, like some styles from here that the lyrics was explicit, and I didn't speak English back time to understand this. Yeah. I'm like listening, it's like, oh, I was dancing that, so why the biggest preconceito with the Brazilian funk, that it's our culture, it's people expressing what they're going through. Because thank God I grew up with part of my family living not in a favela, but I don't know how do I say this, that it goes up, like a hill, like, and I still have.
It's so interesting. I'm sorry, I have to pause.
It's
you were
okay,
talking about
okay.
your family, but I think it's so funny that here in the United States, living on the hills is like a fancy thing, or like something that's nice.
And for us, it's like,
all of Latin America, like living on a hill is not considered the nicest thing, which is pretty interesting. But I'm sorry, continue.
No,
your family
but
was living there.
So I grew up, it was not the biggest dangerous ones, but it was like in Fonseca, Niterói. And then I used to like go there and we hang out there. And then when I was coming back home to the bus stop, we need to hire and run inside to a room or a neighborhood house, because they was having like a tiroteo, like, I don't know, like fire guns and everything, So, but like, but it's like, why did I say that?
We were talking about how there was like so much judgment about like funky, and also like how
yeah,
people were,
so
like,
that's
owning-
like that's our real thing. That's where they come from. That's how they express themselves. Like why they have this big preconceito, and it's like if a little explicit thing, like but that's why I'll never understand. That's why for me now it's really cool that but I do sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, like when I meet somebody and then it's like, oh, do you have Instagram? Like, I do, because it's like what they do with samba, they think like,
but I think it's interesting because I think about
samba, they look at you as a vulgar woman or
so
something,
interesting.
like because I'm in my bikini and I'm samba, it's like, no, of course I believe that it's like, okay, if I'm gonna samba, I can be in my bikini, show a little bit of my butt, but if I'm gonna do it's my opinion, okay? If I'm gonna do a baile funk, if I'm gonna perform a baile funk, I can be on my tongue. I'm gonna be in my knee, girl. I'm gonna be down, like my bone is gonna be like, hello, I think in my opinion, like you need to be a little bit careful about this, but I know it gets controversial because like, oh, your body, your choice, that's my opinion as a professional, and as a performer and as a human being too. That's what I believe. But whoever does it, joga. It's your bunda, it's not my bunda, But why would
we were talking. I really wanna ask you. We're kind of like coming close to the end, but I wanted to ask you. I think the story of how you started this class is like so interesting and also inspiring. Can you talk a little bit about that story? Because you started. Okay, no, actually, tell it.
I remember a little thing. That's why I like to really like show like, hey, we're gonna shake, but we do an elegant shake, because I'm trying to like come see first the Brazilian funk. Because it's about happiness. It's about to have fun. It's not vulgar, It's like
you're feeling yourself.
Yeah, it's fun. And actually,
and as a student, I can say that you do feel yourself in the class.
See, And later, after that, you come to my class, you get to know the Brazilian funk, and mostly already know the Brazilian funk and just want to dance and learn more about dance. And that's how it started. Because one girl asked me that. And then, if you want to shake in your bikinis, go have fun, Show the video and tag me. Like, who taught you? But if not too, it's all good. So, but I like to say that, and it's me. I think it's a little bit of me healing too. Decided like how the preconceito they have, and I try to get in the industry, like showing like, hey, it's not vulgar. It's fun. Like, we shake elegant. It's gonna be an elegant shake, because it can be too.
That's gonna be how I tell people. You can do, and I shake elegantly.
You can be in an orchestra, and a person can be vulgar. It doesn't mean, but yeah.
Yeah, but I remember you talking about that class that like you were still in Brazil, and you were like, I don't remember if it was during the pandemic.
It was during the pandemic, right? So I was in a different circus, in a little smaller circus. Got back in the United States on that circus, and we was on tour. And then pandemic happened in March, so we had to stop. All the arenas was canceling the shows, and they was like, hey, we're gonna have to stop the show. So I was there, and then I had the chance to, they didn't kick me out of the country, they allowed me to stay, which I'm like so thankful. And if it wasn't that, I wouldn't be here right now. Nothing of this would be happening, And so I stayed there, and I helped them out with whatever they need. And they say, hey guys, we're not gonna have food, but we're not gonna have money, but we're gonna have food. So there's still like Mongolians, troop and everything there, everybody there, and it's still, the animals needed to be treated too, taken care and everything. So we stayed there, and then I had these, and that's why, okay, so I did my TikTok page back in 2015.
Wow.
That was touring.
I learned about TikTok in 2021, I think.
It was let's say I did in 2020. No, it was Musicali.
Oh,
before it became TikTok. It was
okay.
Musicali. And then, oh my gosh, she's telling the Botox here, huh? What generation she is now. So I did that because I had to come back to Ringling. After this Superb and everything, I stayed 4 years in Brazil doing, and I worked with Anitta and everything. And then I got the opportunity to come back to Ringling. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do now. I need a refresh from Brazil, and let's go back to America, you know. And I was 4 months, and then I twist my ankle and I fractured 2 bones. So I was at home. Everybody was doing shows, you know, and I was at home, and I'm like all day. I didn't put my feet on the floor for 1 month and a half. It was like bad. And I'm like, musicali. And I could be like silly, stupid, you know? And I'm like, so that's how I started doing it. Because I was not doing that hurt. But then I got kicked out of the country, got back to Brazil. But then I got back dancing with Anitta and everything. That's everything started too. And then getting the tour with her and everything. And then choreographing for TV shows, TV series, cinema, you know. And then, okay, and then pandemic happened, right? So I'm like, oh my gosh, you're not dancing. What am I going to do? And then I saw TikTok. I'm like, oh, I'm going to make a TikTok page. So I put all my information and everything, and then it linked to this old page that I had. Because when I open my TikTok now, I have these 2 profiles, but then I started, I'm like, you want a link? Okay, good. So during the pandemic, my TikTok for me was like the part that I could be happy and dance. And it was so easier too, because before the copyright thing, you do a video and they would put it down on Instagram. I don't know if I can say the name still, but but TikTok, you already have the audio there, so I could like put my hair up, a little bit makeup, and while they was not asking for us on the property of the circus, I would be like, you know, dancing and creating and doing it. And then one girl, because I started doing a little tutorials thing, I would show like American song, like a trendy song, how it was, and I'm like, wow, this is how American dance. And then I'm like, and this is how Brazilians dance, you know? So I started, it was my first, one of my viral videos there was like, and like, wait a second, yeah, I can show them how to do, you know, that. And then I was kind of doing that actually. And then this girl found me on TikTok and she messaged me like, hey girl, I'm a producer, a singer. I went to Brazil and I wanted to learn how to dance like you guys. And I want to go back next year because we thought pandemic was going to be 1 year, you know? And she's like, can you teach me? And I'm like, okay. So we started doing online classes. And that's how my class was created, because I was looking at her, okay, this didn't work. Okay, next thing, let's try this. Oh, let's go from here. Let's go from there. And then when I decided to come, and then because of that, I started to be like, okay, let me make these tutorials on TikTok too. And that was my first viral TikTok, because before it was just like silly things, normal things, and that was actually for fact the first thing. I'm like, oh, okay, you guys, I can help you guys with something, you know. And then when I decided to move here, she was the one, hey girl, I'm gonna call these girls, let's do a Brazilian funk class, are you down for them? Like, okay. And it was, everything was in a pandemic. We did like in a rooftop of one of the girls, and like all my first class videos, it's outside in a park or in a rooftop or something like that. And then we did it, and then we kept going, and then she came to me, it's like, hey, I'm gonna produce this song with a Brazilian funk, you wanna keep helping me? And I was like choreographing and then dancing on the music video to her, and here I am.
Whoa, no, I love it. And I love that you continue with the class, because I am a personal fan. And I'm wondering, like, right now, like, at this point in your life, like, looking back at your career, like, what do you think were, like, the qualities that you feel like got you from an opportunity to a different opportunity, and like thinking about like someone who may want to, and not necessarily like just dancers, because I think that you're an artist, right? And so like as an artist, like what do you think were the qualities that really helped you like move forward? Like maybe not knowing that there was gonna be that next opportunity.
Yeah.
How did you continue those things?
Be hungry to keep learning and to study. I was always hungry to learn something more. If I got formation in something, it was never like Okay, now I know everything. We never know everything. So, and I think that's why today I can say I have musical in my resume, which is more technique dance, and then I dance with Lali and Balvin, which it's more commercial. Luis Fons, which was more commercial, and and I think that that's what I believe, that you two don't get stuck. That you just need to be. You just need to know this. I just need to know this dance style. If you want to get a specialty, that's your choice. But I think to be a performer, and you never know who's behind of your dream job, because this choreographer, his background can be ballet, can be jazz, can be Afro. You never know. So my advice would be, and I think that's what worked for me, is that I always wanted to keep learning and experimenting.
Yeah, like continue to have curiosity for learning new things. And I think that's interesting, because I feel like as like when you're a kid, you like always want to be doing different things, and I feel like once we get older, there's this idea sometimes that like, oh, like you can't learn anything new because I'm an adult. Like, for example, like learning a different language, like for me learning Portuguese, it was interesting because I feel like it like made click, like, oh, I can keep learning things, and even like at any age. And then now, like what I would love to know, like, what do you tell yourself? Like, what is your message that you tell yourself now in looking for new opportunities for you? To like, how do you continue to stay inspired to pursue even more bigger and greater goals?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question, because all with these injuries, and I would always think like, oh my gosh, that's it, it's done, it's over, I can do nothing anymore, and then boom, another door opens, and then I'm back on the inspiration. And I think I live now in the best place to get inspired, which I walk in any dance room, the different class, and I walk in and I feel again like, oh my gosh, I love dancing, and it's easy to get inspired. And then some person comes to you and like, hey, I need to choreograph this song right now. I'm working with this girl that I started dancing, that I started teaching Brazilian funk. We work on her play. So we in a creating choreographer session. Wow. So, and this is what helped me to be there. And sometimes, I don't know, I could say too, sometimes if things are not working this way, like wait, breathe, and talk to you, like why it's not working. Are you done with this, or maybe you need to learn something else? And that's where I am right now a little bit. I'm back in studying acting again, and here I have the biggest and the better teachers for that. And again, it's me preparing me for something bigger that I don't know, being hungry to learn to keep learning. And here I am for the next and the bigger and the better opportunities.
I am so excited. I'm so excited to watch you in the next movie and be like, oh my gosh, that's my dance teacher. No, but thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here today. I was honestly thinking like, oh, this is going to be like a Portuguese English interview. But I'm like, as pessoas têm que saber que eu falo português.
E tu fala muito bem. She speaks very good.
But thank you so much for being today here, sharing all about your life experiences. I'm sure that someone will be listening and be inspired by all that you said. Thank you so much also for sharing your talent with people like me, like go to your classes. Who go to your classes, and I really hope that like people that are listening can go to your classes too. Here.
Yes. Thank you for having me here, and thank you for loving Brazilian funk, and thank you for letting me be your teacher, and and thank you for listening to me and letting me share, and hopefully I can help somebody to breathe and keep going, like don't give up.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much to everyone who listened to yet another episode of La Artisteada. We hope that you stay inspired, that this inspires you to go dance or to go try something new, so thank you so much. Hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.
Yay! Yay!
Thank you for listening to another episode of La Artisteada. Make sure to subscribe and connect with us on Instagram and TikTok. It is very important for us to create spaces where people feel inspired through art, and this would not be possible without our incredible team, Erin Jimenez, Stilo Life, and yours truly, Kiara.